In part 2 of this module, we're going to be talking about sauces, in particular the mother sauces and their derivations. The objectives for this module are: recognize and classify sauces, explain the proper use of thickening agents, and prepare a variety of classic, traditional, and contemporary sauces. So what is a sauce anyway? In cooking, a sauce is a liquid, a cream, or a semi-solid food served on or used in preparing other foods. Most sauces are not normally consumed by themselves. They add flavor, they add moisture, and they add visual appeal to a dish. Sauce is a French word taken from the Latin salsa, meaning salted. Sauces may be used for sweet or savory dishes. They may be prepared and served cold, like mayonnaise, prepared cold but served lukewarm, like pesto, or cooked and served warm, like Béchamel, or cooked and served cold, like applesauce. They may be freshly prepared by the cook, especially in restaurants, but today many sauces are sold pre-made and packaged, like Worcestershire sauce, HP sauce, soy sauce, or ketchup. Sauces for salads are called salad dressings. Sauces made by deglazing a pan are called pan sauces. A chef who specializes in making sauces is called a saucier. There are a few key building blocks for making good sauces that we need to talk about. Number one, stocks. We always want to make sure that we start with a good stock. Make sure it's flavorful, rich, and aromatic. This is always going to be the base level flavoring. So if you start with a bad stock or one that is turned or is no longer good, it's going to make your sauces turned or no longer good tasting. Thickeners. Use thickening agents properly to achieve the desired texture, flavor, and appearance. You don't want to use the wrong thickener in this case because certain thickeners do not react well to heat or cold, so you need to understand a basic premise behind what thickeners to use. And then seasonings. It's all about what seasonings to use to get the desired flavor, whether those include herbs or spices in the stock preparation or in the finished sauce. Seasoning is always going to be a case. And then, of course, don't forget salt and pepper at the end. A roux is a combination of equal parts by weight, flour, and fat. A white roux is only cooked briefly, used in white sauces such as Béchamel or in dishes where little or no color is desired. A blonde roux is cooked slightly longer to take on a little more color, used in ivory-colored sauces and should begin to take on a little color themselves. A brown roux is cooked until it develops a darker color and a nutty aroma, and it's used in brown sauces. Additionally, there are such things as red and black roux, collectively called dark roux, and are almost exclusively used in Creole and Cajun cooking, and require much longer cooking time and a very delicate touch. There are two ways to incorporate roux into a liquid without causing lumps. First thing, cornstarch, arrowroot, rice flour, potato starch, all of these can be used as a thickener in making a slurry. The process is combine equal parts of cornstarch or other starch to cold water. Make sure it's cold water. You do not want to use hot water. Cold water out of the tap is perfectly acceptable. Stir this into a smooth paste to create a slurry. You will meet some resistance, particularly with things such as cornstarch and tapioca, because of its viscosity, so it will be a little difficult to mix it into this paste. Then you want to add the slurry into a simmering sauce and whisk. Now, depending on the kind of starch you're using, it will either be a little more cloudy, such as cornstarch will actually make the sauce a little cloudy, versus arrowroot, which will make the sauce unchanged and give it a slightly translucent look to it.
Beurre Meunier, it's a real French word, but in fact it's a fantastic thickening agent for any gravy or cream sauce.
Add the butter into a small bowl. Pour over the flour and mix together until a paste is formed. Get your fingers in and don't be afraid to get stuck in. Now sprinkle the mixture into some hot milk and stir continuously, adding it bit by bit. The milk will start to thicken and you should end up with a lovely creamy sauce.
In the culinary arts, the word liaison broadly describes the process of thickening a sauce using starch, such as flour or cornstarch. Egg yolks, fat, or even foie gras or pureed mixture of vegetables. Most commonly, however, liaison refers to a mixture of egg yolks and heavy cream that is used to thicken a sauce. The classic Allemande sauce is made by incorporating a liaison into a velouté sauce. The egg yolk and heavy cream mixture is whisked together, and then some of the hot liquid is added and whisked into the liaison to gently heat the egg proteins in the process called tempering. This helps prevent the egg from scrambling and giving an undesirable texture. The heated mixture is then added to the sauce to thicken. Once the egg mixture is added to the sauce, be careful not to bring it to a boil as the sauce will curdle and break. As children, we learned very quickly that oil and water don't mix. The example of emulsification is on the screen. As you can see on the left, oil floats on top of water. But as we stir the oil and water mixture, the oil will slowly start to incorporate in the water, the fat globules breaking down into smaller and smaller pieces, until finally it's completely distributed in the water. Emulsions fall into one of two categories. Oil and water emulsions are common in food products such as crema or the foam on top of espresso. Mayonnaise and Hollandaise sauces are stabilized with an egg yolk lecithin. And homogenized milk is an emulsion of milk fat in water with the milk proteins as the emulsifier. Water and oil emulsions are less common in food, but still do exist, such as butter, which is an emulsion of water into butterfat, and margarine, which is an emulsion of water into fat globules from oil. There are three types of emulsifications. First is a temporary emulsion, and this is only able to hold their bond for a short amount of time, such as a vinaigrette. Semi-permanent emulsions hold emulsions for a longer period of time, but are subject to break with heat and time, such as a Hollandaise. And permanent emulsions hold their emulsions for a long period of time and are not subject to break easily, such as mayonnaise. In the culinary arts, the term mother sauce refers to any one of 5 basic sauces, which are the starting points for making various secondary or small sauces. These leading, grand, or mother sauces are the foundation for the entire classic repertoire of hot sauces. They're called mother sauces because each one of them is like the head of its own unique family. The sauce is essentially a liquid plus some sort of thickening agent, along with other flavoring ingredients. Each one of the 5 mother sauces is made from a different liquid and is a different thickening agent. Although 3 of the mother sauces are thickened with a roux, in each case the roux is cooked for a different amount of time to produce a lighter or darker color. Here are the 5 classic mother sauces, an example of some of the small sauces that can be made from each. Béchamel. With béchamel, it's made from a milk base or cream base. And you can make a cream sauce, a mornay sauce, a nature. You can use it for croque madame or for making mac and cheese. Velouté. Velouté is based off of white stock, white chicken stock, white fish stock, white veal stock. Some of the sauces that can be made from it, a sauce Viand Blanc, a sauce Normandy, and it's commonly used with chicken, fish, potatoes. Espagnole or brown sauce is made from a brown stock. Some of the secondary sauces for this would be demi-glace or bordelaise, Madeira, and it's commonly used with meats and lamb and game meats. Tomato sauce is made from, well, you guessed it, tomatoes. And its common ingredient in this is not only the main flavor component, but is also part of the thickening process, because this is one of the sauces that does not use a roux to thicken with. It's actually thickened by reduction method, reducing the water out of the content. Some of the sauces that can be made with this, of course, is your common tomato sauce for making pastas, but also a Spanish sauce and a Creole sauce. Hollandaise which is a mixture of egg yolk and clarified butter, is used to make secondary sauces like béarnaise and mousseline. It's common used on things such as eggs Benedict. In the Béchamel family, a traditional Béchamel sauce is made by whisking hot milk into a simple flour-butter-roux combination. This sauce is then simmered with onions, cloves, bay leaf, and nutmeg until it's creamy and velvety smooth. The trick is to tack the bay leaf to the onion using cloves, called an onion piqué. This makes everything easy to remove so you don't have to fish around for the bits left in the sauce after straining. This traditional Béchamel sauce is almost always used as a sauce complete or a sauce mother, so it is designed to be used in small sauces and not necessarily used by itself. Some of the small sauces that can be made from it: cream sauce. Sauce crème or cream sauce is an original classic cream sauce. It's also one of the simplest variations of a Béchamel sauce. It's made by whisking heavy cream into the finished Béchamel and adding a little salt and pepper to taste. You can make this simple sauce a little more interesting by adding a chopped chives or parsley. Not only will it create a nice flavor, but it also adds to the visual appeal of the all-white sauce. Sauce Mornay or Mornay sauce is made from enriching a standard Béchamel sauce with Gruyere and Parmesan cheeses. Gruyere is often mistakenly thought of as a Swiss. It's surprisingly similar to making macaroni and cheese from scratch. This Béchamel variety is an ideal accompaniment for vegetables or pasta. It's an excellent choice for chicken or fish as well. You can play up either with a little stock to create a velouté sauce variation as well. Soubise sauce. For this particular sauce, you want to saute onions and puree them, then add them to the Béchamel. It's a classic cream sauce that you'll want to make when you have a vegetable dip. It's also really good as a base for casseroles, or as in the case of some Italian dishes, would be used in lasagna. Nantua sauce is a classic seafood sauce. This variation is made by incorporating shrimp butter and cream into the basic Béchamel sauce. Traditionally, however, it's made with crawfish. The sauce is delicious with fish and seafood, especially with shellfish. Just be sure to get the right timing right because it should be served immediately. Since seafood cooks fast, you'll want to have this particular Béchamel sauce ready to be reheated at the last minute. Cheddar cheese sauce. There are many different ways to make a cheddar cheese sauce, but one of the best is the Béchamel base. All you need to do is add cheddar cheese, mustard, a little Worcestershire sauce. And like Mornay sauce, this cheddar cheese sauce is great with vegetables, pasta, and fish. Yet it doesn't have to be anything fancy. It also works well on macaroni and chili dogs, as well as does five-star dishes. Mustard sauces is a combination to simply adding a small amount of dried mustard, smooth whole grain mustard, or Dijon mustard to the sauce. A small squeeze of lemon works well with this sauce too. This is a natural accompaniment to light fishes and light dishes. Dairy-free Béchamel sauce. This uses, instead of milk and butter, you may choose to do something a little more healthy and use something along the lines of a soy milk or an almond milk. Using this soy milk with a little olive oil and flour as the roux instead of butter. It's a very simple recipe that you can use. Any white sauce can be dressed up in many different ways. A velouté sauce is a savory sauce made from roux and a light stock. The term velouté is a French word for velvety. The velouté family is quite extensive, and this is due to the flexibility and versatility of the sauce. There is a lesson to be had within the simplicity of the velouté. In its multiple possibilities are branched off because of it. Its neutral flavors and velvety texture can mean that there are no real end to the variations. In preparing a velouté sauce, a light stock, one in which the bones may have not been used previously roasted, such as chicken or fish stock, is thickened with a blonde roux. Thus, the ingredients of the velouté are equal parts by mass of butter and flour to form the roux, and a light chicken or fish stock with some salt and pepper to add seasoning. The sauce produced is commonly referred to this type as by the stock used, such as a chicken velouté or a fish velouté. Some of the fish variations: Bercé sauce, a reduction of white wine; a cardinal sauce, which is diced tomatoes, cayenne pepper, and sometimes paprika. The end result will be a sauce that has a red tint to it. This goes really well with lobster and crawfish dishes and is often the base for what most people in the South refer to as crawfish cream sauce. And Normandy sauce, which is cider or dry white wine, is added along with butter. Allemande sauces is a sauce Parisienne. This is a French cuisine based on a light-colored velouté sauce, typically veal or chicken, or sometimes even shellfish vellutées, but thickened with an egg yolk and heavy cream liaison, and seasoned with lemon juice. Allemande was one of the four mother sauces of the classic French cuisine as defined by Antoine Carême in The Art of French Cooking in the 19th century. Some of its derivations: sauce aurore is a French word for sunrise, from adding tomato paste. Horseradish sauce adds dry mustard and freshly grated horseradish for a little kick. Mushroom sauce is sautéed sliced mushrooms and butter with white wine, finished with a little chopped parsley and chives. And sauce poulette or poulet sauce is finished sliced mushrooms and shallots and butter, then finish it with a little lemon juice and chopped parsley. Traditionally, Suprême sauces are made from a velouté sauce made with meat stock. In this case, Suprême, a chicken stock, is usually preferred. And it's reduced with heavy cream or crème fraîche, and then strained through a fine sieve. Albufera sauce, based on Suprême sauce, to which is added meat glaze or glace de poulet or glace de veau, and it is served chiefly with poultry and sweetbreads. Hungarian sauce consists of added paprika, onions, and white wine, and is excellent on fish, chicken, and other meat items. Sauce Espagnole and demi-glace are both rich brown sauces, but the latter is a derivation of the first. After a sauce Espagnole has been made, it can be easily used in a 1-to-1 ratio with brown stock and then reduced by half and finished with sherry wine, resulting in an intensely flavored demi-glace sauce. It can be stirred into soups, stews, and risottos to boost the taste or simply spooned over a sizzling steak. Demi-glace is a rich brown sauce that combines 1 part Espagnole sauce and 1 part stock and is finished with sherry wine. A Juliet is a sauce made by slightly thickening meat stock or juices with a slurry based on cornstarch or arrowroot. Bordelaise is made from dry red wine, bone marrow, butter, shallots, and sauce demi-glace, similar to Marchand de Veau. Séjour sauce is sautéed mushrooms, shallots, and white wine reduction simmered in demi-glace. Sauce africaine is Espagnole sauce flavored with tomatoes, onions, peppers, and herbs. Sauce Brigade is Espagnole sauce with duck drippings flavored with orange and lemon juice. Sauce Bourguignon, Espagnole sauce with red wine, shallots, and bouquet garni. Marchand de Vin sauce, which is a red wine reduction. Classic French sauce steak version with reduced red wine. This would often be served on a steak with chopped shallots and simmered in demi-glace. Sauce charcuterie has onions and mustard, white wine, and chopped cornichon pickles served in demi-glace. Sauce lyonnaise or lyonnaise sauce. Onions and white vinegar are simmered in demi-glace. Mushroom sauce, a classic sauce made with sautéed mushrooms, shallots, and a splash of sherry, simmered in demi-glace. Madeira sauce is demi-glace that is enriched with Madeira wine. And sauce poivre or au poivre, poivre equals pepper in the French language. It's made by adding equal parts of Espagnole and white stock to a white wine, then using it to deglaze a pan that has a protein that's cooked with copious amounts of cracked black pepper, such as a steak. tomato sauce family is significantly different than the previous three mother sauces. While you can cook stock in the production of this sauce, you generally do not. Nor do you typically add any type of thickener to the sauce, instead relying on reduction to thicken. Originally, the classic tomato sauce, or pomodoro in Italian, was made with pork bones and salt pork, but today it is a lean version without meat or pork, usually made with mirepoix, garlic, olive oil, tomatoes, tomato paste optionally, white stock or vegetable broth, and seasonings. Some of its derivations are Creole sauce. This is the addition of diced green peppers in place of the carrots. This is what we call Trinity in the New Orleans region. Instead of carrots, we use green bell peppers, then celery and onion. And we also add diced okra and green olives to this with a little dash of hot pepper sauce. Or Spanish sauce, which is the addition of sweet peppers such as red bell peppers, garlic, olive oil, and sliced mushrooms. Or a sauce Milanaise is the classic tomato sauce we know and love with tomatoes, garlic, olive oil, and basil. Hollandaise is a creamy, buttery, rich sauce with a touch of lemon juice and a dash of spice of cayenne or hot sauce. This technique for making this is different from any of the others. This is an emulsified sauce with egg yolk as its primary thickener. Emulsified butter sauces must be held at temperatures conducive to bacterial growth. Always use clean, sanitized utensils. Prepare sauce close to service time, and never hold Hollandaise-based sauces more than 1.5 hours. Never mix an old batch with new batches of the sauce. Some of its derivations include Béarnaise, which is made by steeping white wine and white wine vinegar with shallots, black peppercorns, and tarragon before straining and adding to the egg yolk mixture in place of the lemon juice. The sauce is typically finished with chopped tarragon and minced shallots. Sauce Charon is made by adding tarragon and tomato paste or a tomato sauce, and finishing with diced tomatoes. Sauce Foyer is a Béarnaise derivation with added glace de viande or meat glaze. Sauce Grimrod, which sounds like something from Harry Potter, but it's actually a Hollandaise sauce with saffron added. Typically saffron that has been steeped in white wine and added to the Hollandaise, either in place of or in addition to the lemon juice. Sauce Maltaise is made by substituting blood orange juice for the lemon juice in Hollandaise and finishing with blood orange zest. Sauce Mousseline, also referred to as Chantilly sauce, is made by finishing Hollandaise by folding in whipped heavy cream to lighten the sauce. So here's a simple breakdown of the sauce with their main ingredient and the thickener used in each one. Bechamel's main ingredient is milk or cream, and it uses a pale roux. Sauce Velouté is a white stock, usually chicken or white veal or fish stock, and it uses a blonde roux. Espagnole is a brown stock, brown veal or brown chicken stock, and uses a brown roux. Hollandaise main ingredient is actually butter, and it uses the emulsification of the egg yolk with the butter. And tomato sauce main ingredient is, well, tomatoes, and it uses a reduction method. There are a few traditional sauces that we also need to talk about. So those are the mother sauces that we just discussed. Now let's talk about some butter-based sauces. Beurre blanc. Beurre is the French word for butter and blanc meaning white. So this is a white butter sauce. Beurre rouge is a red butter sauce. Compound butter is a mixture of various different elements into cold butter and then put back into a tube and refrigerated or frozen. This is a really good way of utilizing flavors and having the buttery richness added to a sauce. You can use this in a technique we're going to discuss in just a moment called monté au beurre, or you can use this just a simple piece on top of a nice steak and let it melt over with those flavors. Monté au beurre is a technique as opposed to a butter sauce. And what this translates into is melt with butter. And think of this as a finishing technique for a sauce. If I have a nice meat glaze that I'd like to serve with my steak, maybe one of those sauces like a hunter sauce or a sauce chachur that I'd like to serve with that, I'm going to add just a little bit of butter at the end and swirl it into my sauce. This is a technique called monté au beurre, or melt with butter, and it will distinctly change the flavor and richness of the sauce that it's added to, as well as giving the sauce a nice sheen or shine.
Beurre blanc. That's right, I don't even speak French, and even I know that means white butter. But do not let that sort of generic name fool you. This classic French butter sauce is complex, elegant, and sophisticated. Whatever that means. It's also incredibly versatile and very, very easy to make, as you're about to see. So let's go ahead and get started with our mise en place. I know, so much French. But all mise en place means is simply getting together all your ingredients before you start a recipe. And since this sauce comes together so quickly, that's definitely something we're going to want to do. So for this sauce, we're going to need some white wine. And if you're keeping score at home, I'll be using a Sauvignon Blanc for this. We're also going to need some white wine vinegar, or if you want, some lemon juice. It's going to work exactly the same, so it's just a matter of taste. We'll also want to do a little bit of finely minced shallot, as well as a little splash of heavy cream, which is technically optional here, but I do like to use it, and I'll explain why later. And then last but not least, we need a whole bunch of high-quality, unsalted butter. And besides making sure that's cold, what we want to do before we start the recipe is cut that into cubes, because as you're about to see, we're going to add that little by little. And once that's set, we can head to the stove for this very simple two-part procedure. The first part being the reduction. So what we'll do is we'll add everything except the butter into this pan. All right, our shallots, our white wine, our vinegar, and our optional cream. Cream is not included in the original recipe, but it does help stabilize this sauce and increases your chances for success. Not to mention it tastes good, and I think the color comes out better. But anyway, we'll add all that to our pan and bring that up to a simmer on medium-high heat, because what we need to do before the butter gets anywhere close to this is reduce this by about 75%, or so. So what I like to do is bring it up to a simmer on medium-high, and then back the heat down to medium, and basically just stand there and watch it until it's ready. And sure, if you want, you could give it a stir once in a while, but that does nothing. And one of the few ways to screw up this recipe is to walk away and let this reduction reduce too far and burn. If I had $1 for every one of these I burned when I worked in the restaurants, I'd have like $8 or $9. So it was pretty common. But anyway, we're just going to hang out, watching that reduce, until, like I said, it gets down to about 25% of what we started with, which to my eye looks like what we have right about here. And at that point, we're going to switch our heat all the way to the lowest setting, and we'll start whisking in our cold chunks of butter, but we want to start slow. So I'm just going to add a couple pieces, and we'll whisk that in. Or if you want, you could just swirl the pan. It really does not matter as long as the butter keeps moving. That's the key. And then once those first couple cubes have melted in, or almost melted in, we can go ahead and toss in 2 or 3 more cubes. And then we'll simply repeat that process until all our butter's been emulsified. And by the way, you have my apologies if you're getting dizzy from all this close-up stirring. I probably should have panned out to a wider shot, but then I would have had to clean the other side of the stove, so never mind. But anyway, as soon as all that butter's been incorporated, our beurre blanc is basically done. And by the way, you keep hearing me say beurre blanc, but I believe in French it's correctly pronounced beurre blanc, which is exactly why I use the Americanized beurre blanc. I can't keep a straight face saying beurre blanc. But anyway, how you say it's up to you. You are the patron of your beurre blanc. And if you want, you can add the butter a little quicker towards the end. And once we've incorporated all that cold butter into our sauce, we can turn off the heat because our beurre blanc is done. And as you can see here, thanks to properly emulsifying that butter in, you should be looking at a sauce that has a beautiful, thick, luxurious texture. And then above and beyond admiring our viscosity, we're also going to want to taste this and add a little bit of seasoning. It's definitely going to need a pinch of salt. I think we'll also do a little pinch of cayenne. And by the way, do not judge this by how it tastes on a spoon or on your finger. This is one of those sauces that's only really awesome on food. So hold off on your final opinions. And assuming we're ready for service, we'll go ahead and transfer that into a warm sauce boat and possibly finish with some fresh herbs. In my case, a little bit of chive, because that's what I had around. And by the way, if you're not going to use this right away, it will hold, but you got to keep it warm. Okay, if it cools down and you try to reheat it, it's going to break. So if you make this a little bit ahead, make sure you keep it in a warm spot, somewhere ideally between 80 and 120 degrees. But personally, I will not be needing to keep this warm, because I'm going to go ahead and serve this over a gorgeous piece of roasted sea bass. And yes, I am probably pouring over a little too much, but I couldn't help myself. It just looks so good. And then I'll finish up with a little more chive. And that, my friends, is one incredibly simple and just absolutely drop-dead gorgeous sauce, which would not matter at all if this didn't also taste amazing. Just that perfect balance between the acidity in the wine and vinegar and that fatty richness of the butter. Just a fantastic sauce experience. And while I really think you're going to enjoy this specific version of beurre blanc, the different ways you could adapt this are as obvious as they are unlimited. Okay, different types of vinegars and citrus and herbs, etc. Just a lot of ways to really tweak this to your own tastes. But anyway, that's it. Beurre blanc, or beurre blanc if you prefer. No matter how you pronounce it, I really do hope you give this a try soon. So head over to foodwishes.com for all the ingredient amounts and more info as usual. And as always, enjoy.
Other traditional sauces, let's get the 80-pound elephant out of the room and let's talk about pan gravy and pan sauces. It's very easy and very common for the term gravy to be used in place of sauces, but technically it is not the same thing. A sauce is usually made from stock and a reduction or some kind of thickening ingredient, where a gravy is made in the pan most times, using what we call fond, or those little pieces that are stuck to the bottom of the pan of the particulates of meat or the flavoring from the searing process. This all goes into pan sauces or pan gravy. What we would do in that particular case is we would use the fat that is already in the sauce in the pan, and we would sprinkle with a little flour in a technique called singe, which means to sprinkle. We would sprinkle that on top of these fats and fond, and this is going to make the roux in the pan. And then we would add a stock or a liquid of some kind to it and thicken it using that. So in essence, it is a velouté. Coulis is something entirely different. Coulis is actually a pureed of either a cooked or even a raw vegetable or fruit. In this case, this is a coulis of red peppers, and it is red peppers and a little red wine, some seasonings and herbs that have been simmered together and then pureed in a blender until it is absolutely smooth. And you put it in a squeeze bottle and just give it a little squeeze on the plate. Today, all bets are off. There are tons of different sauces that you can use instead of using just the old traditional classic sauces. While they are still used and still good, this offers another alternative and another level of flavor, such as salsa and relish and chutneys, vegetable juice sauces, broths and foams and flavored oils, all bring something unique and different to the table that haven't been seen in a while. Cream-based sauces have their place, but also so do light and airy sauces and just refreshing sauces in general. So let's discuss some of the axioms involved when using sauces. Select the appropriate sauce based on the cooking method used to prepare the dish. Select the appropriate sauce based on the richness of the main ingredient. You don't want a sauce that's richer than the main ingredient. Consider the flavor profile of the foods on the plate. And then consider the visual appearance of the dish. So let's summarize and discuss some of the takeaways for this module. Sauce is a French word taking from the Latin salsa, meaning salted. Roux, slurry, liaison, and reduction are all methods used to thicken sauces. Different shades of roux are used for different color sauces. Light and cream sauces get a light roux, and brown stock uses brown roux. Slurry is made from various starches, not just cornstarch. Rice, potato, tapioca starches are all used. Butter sauces make a nice accompaniment to meat and vegetables, offering a rich, creamy texture. And sometimes classic sauces can make room for more modern interpretations, which brings something unique to the food themselves.